Hello, welcome to this video. I have set myself a challenge, and at this point in time I have completed that challenge, and that challenge is to see how many 5-star romances I could get in about a week. I love a good romance. Romance is a very fun time for me to read. It ends up being, I think, my highest read genre at the end of the year, but I don't often rate it 5 stars. There's only a few romances that have gone 5 stars out for me. And so I wanted to see if I could curate a list of books, had the potential to be 5 stars because I have experience with the author, or because I've rated 5 stars from them before, or because I've heard such great things about it. There are lots of reasons why a book could be 5 stars, and I chose 5 from my TBR pile that I thought could be 5 stars. Spoiler warning, I guess. I did indeed find a 5-star book, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is now. You're going to have to wait and see which one it is. This is just a typical reading vlog of me trying to find some new favourite books. And I definitely did. Let's go! Okay, let me just... Hey, I did it. I've been sat on by a puppy and I can't move. So I want to pick up a book. And that book is going to be Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I have read all of the Chestnut Swing series. It's up here. And I really enjoyed the whole series. But I hear that this series is even better. So I don't want to say I have high hopes, because I don't like going into books with specific ideas of what's going to happen, but I feel like this could do me well. Is that a sentence? Do me well? Does that make sense? Well, it sounds kind of naughty when I think about it. You could do me well. Oh my god. So I want to start Wild Love. That's what I'm here to tell you. I want to start Wild Love because I've read the Chestnut Spring series. I really like it. I did start the Gold Rush Ranch series as well and liked the first book in that. So I feel like Elsie Silver is just a good-ish author for me. And this is apparently one of her best. So I have hopes that I could do well with this book. That's all I'm trying to say. What a mouthful. I'm going to start it. Why do I feel awkward today? I just do. Boom. A third of the way through. This is an immensely readable book. This is unbelievably readable. Like, I just consumed it. I started and I didn't want to stop. Honestly, I wouldn't have stopped if I didn't need to update you. Should I tell you what's going on? So we're following Rosie and Ford. It's dual perspective, which I really appreciate. Rosie, like, had her life planned out, was in this job that she didn't like but was stable, has this boyfriend that she doesn't really like but is stable. She's on this very stable path, and then something happens at work and she decides she has to leave. So she goes back to her hometown, Rose Hill. There she meets up with Ford, who used to spend summers in Rose Hill. They knew each other because Ford is best friends with Rosie's brother West, and they all used to like hang out. The older brother used to babysit Rosie. Ford has recently decided to move to Rose Hill because he wants to open a recording studio there. He's lived his life, become a billionaire, and now wants to focus on more of his passion, which is music. So he has come to Rose Hill to open a recording studio, and him and Rosie meet up, and he gets convinced to hire her as like a business manager for his recording studio. But the kind of twist in the story is that Ford recently found out that he has a biological daughter, and she has turned up in his life. So I was right in thinking that this is a single dad trope, but dad is kind of a misnomer when it comes to their relationship. They don't know each other. She's 12, they've never met before, but she's in a difficult situation in life and he decides to take her in. And so far, my 2 favourite things about this book are Cora, who is the 12-year-old daughter, and their banter. I'm absolutely loving their banter. They just take the piss out of each other at every possible turn, and that is a relationship I love to see. What else can I tell you about it? It's starting to have the kind of small town vibes that I expected from Elsie Silver. All of Rosie's family lives nearby and they have to interact with them, and he's starting to interact with some of the kind of more local people that are around town. But seeing as they're both new to town, it's not like there's kind of big established relationships with the town. It's more nostalgic than that. It doesn't feel very like country vibes. They do like hang out by the lake and have campfires and that kind of thing, but there's no like horses and stables and riding that there was in the Chestnut Spring series. There isn't that kind of focus on cowboyness that there was in that book. But I am really enjoying it. I don't know what we're gonna do, because at the moment there isn't really like a problem or a conflict or anything like that. They just have the hots for each other but don't really want to act on it because of a couple of situations going on. But those feel like they would be quite easily resolved. So I don't know what we're going to focus on for the rest of the book. But I guess I'll find out. I guess that's the point of reading. If you knew what was going to happen, you wouldn't read the book. So I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to have a great time doing it. Success. I have a puppy. Do you want to see her? There she is. There she is. I have like 100 pages left. I think I just wasn't expecting how much this is just kind of like a sweet, soft story. Like, there's been no drama. There isn't like this huge conflict that's arisen, or there isn't like a big dramatic thing that we've had to deal with. This is just like a really sweet, loving story. And it almost feels like Cora's little found family story. Like, as much as it is a romance, it's also about Cora discovering a family for herself. And I feel like that's such a sweet story to read. I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it. It has this like real softness that I don't remember from Elsie Silver's other books. How many times have I said the word soft, huh? But it's gorgeous, and it doesn't feel long. Like, I know a lot of people say like, romance books should only be like 300 pages. And this is approaching on 450, but it doesn't feel super drawn out. It just feels like it is the pace it was meant to be. Like, it is the cadence of it is really gentle. I'm really appreciating that about it. I'm excited for the last 100 pages. I am. I'm excited to read it. So that's what I'm gonna do while I cuddle my puppy. I might as well just say it. I cried. We all saw it. It happened. There's no escaping it. I cried. I think my feelings on the book didn't really change from the last time I spoke to you. Like, the whole way through, It was basically just a very sweet story, and that was lovely to read. I had a really good time doing it. There wasn't a conflict that felt really out of place. People were really good at communicating with each other. People were really good at helping each other work through emotions, and I really appreciated that. It felt like quite a mature understanding of people in a way that I don't remember Chestnut Springs being. So for that, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to end up giving it a 4.25. When I think of my ratings, I'm like, okay, did I enjoy this as much as The 7 Year Slip, which I gave 5 stars? No. Did I enjoy this as much as I enjoyed Happy Place, which I gave 4.5 stars? Not quite. But I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed any of the Chestnut Springs series, which I mainly gave around a 4 star. So I think it has to be higher than a 4 star, but lower than Happy Place. And so I'm ending on a 4.25. I know that's like irritatingly specific. It's what I'm going with. It's what I'm going for. It's the best I can come up with for this book. But I did really enjoy it. I did really enjoy it. Can I say that enough? I really enjoyed it. Have you heard? I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Did you hear that I really enjoyed it? So this was a success, but not a 5 star. And now I'm going to move on to my next book. And I've decided to go with Beach Read by Emily Henry. I have loved one book by Emily Henry and not liked one book by Emily Henry. So who knows what this is going to be. But I've heard that this is a good one of hers. People really, really like this one. So hopefully this can be another high rated romance. I don't have like strong convictions that this is going to be a 5 star, but I guess Emily Henry is one of the writers who's got the closest to a 5 star that I've read, and seeing as this is a fan favourite, I figured I might as well give it a go. Am I nervous? Yes. I'm a bit nervous about reading it, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay. I can be nervous and still really enjoy a book. So Beach Read, that's what I'm going with next. This is the best angle we're getting. Because I have a puppy and I cannot move. I have to tell you about this book. I have to tell you about it because I want to keep reading it, and I can't keep reading it until I've told you about it. I'm that far in. Can you see? It's like 120-ish pages. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. The banter is exquisite. Genuinely exquisite. I'm having such a fun time with it. So it's about January, who has inherited a house and her life is not going well. So she goes to this house on the lake to write. She traditionally writes women's fiction. They're often classed as romances. She's struggling. She's supposed to have written a book and she hasn't written it. And she has writer's block because some negative things have happened in her life and she just can't get into the feeling of writing like a happily ever after or a rom-com or a meet cute or whatever it is. She can't get in headspace. She moves in and she finds out that she's next door to Gus, who is also a writer. They've known each other since college but haven't really interacted, and through various events they kind of spend some time with each other. Basically, they decide to swap genres. They decide to write a book in each other's genre, and they have a little bet about who can get it published first. And I'm just at the point where basically they've decided to help each other with research by taking the other person along to what they would normally do for research for their books. So I've just got to the point where they started doing that. They're spending time together. I really like it. I really like it. In comparison to the other Emily Henry books I've read, it feels more like Happy Place than it does like Funny Story. And I know that a lot of people said that Funny Story was like her most commercial book and that her other books leaned more on a kind of literary fiction side. And I can definitely feel that while reading this book. It has a lot of fairly serious topics being explored. And I'm very interested. I am interested. I am interested. And I really like Gus. He seems like a great person, and I'm excited for that. So I'm going to keep reading. That's literally what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here with the puppy and I'm going to read. I think I have 100 pages left. I've literally just sat here and read that whole section in one chunk. And I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to stop. This why are romances so readable? Why can you just start and then you don't want to stop and you just want to keep consuming them? That's how I feel about this book. What can I tell you about it? What can I tell you about it? I feel like we've learned a lot more about Gus, but we haven't learned a lot more about January. And I'm kind of more interested in January. I want to understand what's going on in her life a little bit more. I feel relatively head empty about this. I feel like there's like miscommunication going on because they're just like not communicating enough in a kind of real way about their feelings. I am still having a good time, I would say. I am not displeased that I am reading this book. I'm having a nice time. Some aspects of this really remind me of The 7-Year Slip, and I loved that book. So I feel like that's a good comparison to have, but they are very different. They are very different. There's just some like similar themes. And apparently I like those themes. Apparently I'm happy when those themes get included. I feel it's hard to talk about this book because the synopsis gives so little away as to what this book is about. And I don't want to like ruin it for anyone who doesn't know what's going on. Like I didn't know what was going on, but I am having a lovely time. And it's not actually, this was a thing I had, it's not too summery. They talk about the heat a lot, but I thought it was going to feel like this really like summer packed book, and it doesn't. A Happy Place felt more summery than this book does. So reading it in February is fine. I don't feel out of season or out of sync with it. It's a good book no matter what. My battery's gonna die, so I have to make this quick. I finished Beach Read. I think I really enjoyed it. I don't feel like I can give you a rating. It's not a 5-star. It's not a 5-star, but it is some type of 4-star. 4.25. I'm not sure. I have to think about it. And that's really underwhelming. But that's how I feel. But now, dear friends, I have this exciting book. This is Ali Hazelwood's new book. It came out like 3 days ago and it arrived today because I didn't pay for fancy shipping. And I'm excited to give it a go. I have never given Ali Hazelwood a 5 stars, but I always really enjoy her books. So hopefully, I think this is a sports romance, and I do love me a sports romance. So hopefully this is going to be a good one for me. I'm just like having such a good time. I'm having such a nice time reading all these books, but this is the next one. This is the next book I'm going to read. Aren't you excited? I've been reading Deep End, and I'm just coming up on 200 pages in. And how do I put this? I'm an emotions first, spice second girl, normally. But this book, the male main character is very stoic. So while we are getting to know him, and he is just like full of all the green flags in the world, this is a spice first, emotions second book, I think. It is kind of slow burny. I'm nearly halfway through and spice has only just started happening. I guess I should tell you what's happening. So it's about Scarlett, who is a college student, and she is a diver. She is a jock. She's also very, very smart. There is some STEM stuff in here, as is traditional with Ali Hazelwood. She had an injury a little while ago, and so she's working through some residual effects of the injury. She's also wants to become a doctor, so she's doing lots of studying, lots of research and stuff like that in order to aid her application to become a doctor. The relationship is with Lucas, who has very similar interests to her. He does swimming instead of diving, but he also wants to become a doctor or some kind of pre-med. I'm not sure what his end goal is. And they basically found out that they had this very specific thing in common and have been paired up to explore that specific thing in what is so far a very like healthy and interesting way. There's kind of been an equal mix of like sport, being a college student, and romance, I guess. Like it's all been quite equal between the three things. It doesn't feel like one is getting more attention than the other things. So it feels like quite a good mix of topics. I always enjoy Ali Hazelwood's writing style. It's very conversational, it's very easy, it's very like free-flowing and simple to understand, and I do like that in a book quite a lot of the time. It makes the whole experience feel, I guess, just like really enjoyable and really bingeable. Like you can just sit down with an Ali Hazelwood book and read it cover to cover. It doesn't require a lot of brain power, and sometimes that's a really, really nice thing. So I'm enjoying it, and I think I'm going to keep enjoying it, but I guess we'll see. There's still quite a lot of the book to go, but I'm having fun. I'm having fun. So is the puppy. I need to tell you about my book, because otherwise I'm just going to finish it and I'm not going to talk to you about it. I feel like I'm in this haze, like I'm just in the book. I'm just in it. But I don't actually know anything that's happened. I think it's pretty low plot. Does that make sense? Like, I'm 350 pages in and just like the bare minimum of storyline has happened. But am I loving it? That's a strong maybe. That's a strong maybe. Depending on how this book ends, I can see myself really liking this. It feels like a warm blanket. Like it's not the most cozy of books. It's not like this super cozy book, and it's definitely pretty heavy smut. But it just feels like this kind of warm smush of a story. It's not like drama filled and intense and heavy and difficult. It's just really comfortable. I don't think I'm making any sense. I don't think anything I'm saying makes sense, but that's the only way I can describe it to you, is that it's like this cozy feeling. There's so much care, there's so much affection, there's so much understanding. It just feels really intimate and soft. It's not quite as funny, I would say, as Ali Hazelwood's other books. But it has a lot going for it, and I'm having a really nice time with it. So I'm pretty happy. I don't know. What is this? What is going on there? This is the first time that I feel like genuinely so confused by a book. Because this could be 4 stars. This could be 4 stars. Or it could be 5 stars. I don't remember the last time I felt so sad that a book ended. I just want to spend more time with these people. I want to spend more time with these characters. I want to learn every single thing about them. I want a book from the end of this book to the epilogue that a few years later, too many years, I need to know what happened. I want to know what happened. I want every second with these characters that I can get. Does that mean this is a 5-star? Does that mean this is a 5-star? I didn't come away with that like, yes, 5 stars. This is definitely 5 stars. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I didn't come away with that feeling. I didn't come away feeling like this was going to change my world. But sitting here, I'm just so sad that the book is over. I want to go back immediately and reread it. Because I just want to spend time with these characters. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where my head's at. I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't expecting this. This wasn't a situation I anticipated happening. I feel confused. I feel lost. I just feel. I am full of emotion. I just don't know if it's a 5-star emotion. I don't know if it's a 5-star emotion. I cried more in the other books. But somehow this one has grabbed me and won't let go. Okay then. Maybe it's just because it's long. I spent so much time with them. But I'm not done. I'm not done with them. I am going to reread some. I might reread the whole thing. I'm also going to start a new book. Maybe not right this second. But I know what I'm reading next. And what I'm reading next is Just for the Summer by Ali Jimenez. I've read 2 Ali Jimenez before the previous 2 books in this series, because this is a interconnected standalone series with Part of Your World and yours truly. I really enjoyed them both. I liked Part of Your World more, but this was on everyone's favourites. So I have high hopes that this is going to be a good one. Again, it is on the longer side. It is 400 pages. And apparently I like long books. So maybe this will be a good one. So I am going to pick this up next. I'm just not quite ready to let go of Deep End yet. So I'm next. Definitely next. But maybe I'll just read a bit of this. I have lots to update you on. And by lots, I mean some. I did do a reread of Deep End and I annotated it. I don't know if you can see that, but it has cemented in my brain that this is a 5-star. So we have officially found our first 5-star of the video. I've never done that before. I've never read a book and then immediately reread it. That isn't something I've ever done. So I was trying to figure out if that meant that something was lacking in the book, because I was like, I wanted more time with the characters. So does that mean the book is unsatisfying? Is that the problem with the book? Is that it isn't enough of a resolution? But on my second read, I was like, no, it was perfect. I got exactly what I wanted from this book and it made me really happy. So we have our first 5-star of the video. I'm going to read 2 more books, so we have 2 more chances. And like I told you, the next book I picked up was Just for the Summer by Ali Jimenez. I'm about a third of the way through, as is typical with my updates. And I know this is a longer romance, so I did expect a slower pace. And I think I was right to have that expectation. They pretty much have only just met. They've met once, so there isn't a whole lot for me to talk about. There's quite a lot of setup, there's quite a lot of backstory on both of them. We meet their friends, we meet their family. There's a lot going on beyond the romance, but there hasn't been that much romance yet. I have high hopes for Justin, because I've heard that he is a good character. So I'm hoping that that continues to be the case, because it is the case so far. I really like him. He's really funny, and he's definitely like quirky in some ways, which is nice. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I don't think I have anything else to tell you. That was it. That was all I wanted to say, that I'm having a good time. Oh, fuck. Should I tell you what it's about? So it's about these two people, Justin and Emma. They connect over the fact that they both seem to have this curse where they date someone and the next person that person dates is their one true love. So they decide to put it to the test and to date each other in the theory that that will break the curse and then they will both end up with their one true love after that. That's the theory. Emma is a travelling nurse who has a rocky relationship with her mother but has a really great best friend who travels and works with her. Justin is like a software engineer who has just adopted a dog and has some family stuff of his own that's going on. That is a little bit of a mystery at this point because we don't know why he's in the situation that he's about to be in. I'm glad there's a dog. I'm always glad when there's a dog. As you can see, I love a dog character. So that's where we're at the moment. She has just moved to the city where he lives and they've decided to do this like dating experiment. And that's kind of where I'm at 130 pages into the book. Why does it look so dark? Whatever. I'm there. I'm nearly 2/3 of the way through. I'm just eating this up, eating it up. I can't tell you what is going on because it would be a spoiler. That's just a fact. If I told you what was happening, it would be a spoiler. So I can't tell you, but I will tell you that I'm freaking loving it. I'm freaking loving what is happening in this book. It's so sweet. There's like this kind of brutal honesty between them, which is really kind of like refreshing. And Justin is so like all in. He's all in on this. And he absolutely 100% is showing that and is honest about it and just puts it out there for her to respond to. And I think if that was me, I would find that a little bit terrifying. But in book form, love it. There's so much going on with their families. There's so much going on with their families. It's kind of like 50% family drama. Drama's a strong word. Family struggles, I don't know. It's like 50% them having to deal with their family and what is going on with them, and then the other 50% is romance. It is pretty heavily romance in a way that romances aren't always. So I am really enjoying that. It doesn't feel too summery like with Beach Read. Like there is this summer setting and they are doing stuff that you would require summer to do, but there's also like storms and weather and wind and rain, so it doesn't feel like achingly summery. It doesn't feel like you can't read this at any other time. I can see why so many people like this book. I can see why so many people like this book. I don't know if this is gonna be like 100% for me. I can see some like self-sabotage coming, and that's something that I really struggle with sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes when there's a lot of self-sabotage I get a bit frustrated with the characters. What else is going on? Nothing. Nothing else is going on. I'm having a good time. I'm glad I'm reading it. I don't have a prediction at this point of what this could be. I have almost cried. Like halfway through the book, I almost cried. So that feels like a good sign. But I don't know. Yeah? Yeah. Oh. Just try and be in the middle, shall we? I promise you, I do have times where the dog isn't on my lap. She just has really bad timing. I have finished Just for the Summer. I regret to inform you, this wasn't 5 stars. I don't know what to rate it. I think it's probably a 4. I think it's probably a 4. Like, don't get me wrong, I had a really good time with it. But I think I just needed more from the end. I think for the pace that this book was, the end, the very, very end just felt a bit rushed. And I think there could have been more time like spent dealing with the conflict than there was, because there was like a conflict and then basically 2 chapters and the book was over. So I think that I just needed a little bit more time spent with that resolution. Not necessarily them being together, but more time for the process. I think that's what I was missing. But anyway, 4 is still good. A 4 is still good. But we're gonna try. I'm gonna try one last time to find a 5-star. And this is a bit of a risky one. It's a little bit risky because it is a romance author that I've given 5 stars before, but everything that I've heard is that this is people's least favourite from her. So it's a novel love story by Ashley Posten. I gave The 7-Year Slip 5 stars earlier this year. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed The Dead Romantics, so this is my 3rd go with Ashley Posten. And I feel like I am going to really like this. I just think that maybe it's not going to be as completely life-changing as The 7-Year Slip was. That's my prediction. Okay, I'm a little bit over a third of the way through. Actually, this will tell me. I'm 40% of the way through. And I think to tell you about it, I have to tell you what's going on in the story. So we're following Eileen, who every year goes to a cabin with her book club and they talk about romance books. But this year, no one else in the group could go, so she's going by herself. And on the way, she gets lost. There's a storm. She winds up in a town. She figures out that it's the town from her favourite romance series. So far, it's kind of been us learning about what happens in the fictional books. So she meets someone, we learn about what happened to them in the story that she's already read, then she interacts with them and engages with them in the way that she's always wanted to talk to them. None of the people in the town know that they are fictional characters, apart from Anders, who I believe is the love interest. He is a grumpy bookstore owner, and he isn't a character, but we don't know, or at least she doesn't remember him being a character in the books. So he knows that it's a fictional town, but no one else does. And that's kind of all the story has been. Her and Anders have kind of butted heads a couple of times. We're learning about the cafe and the sweet shop and the hot sauce that's made there, and we learn about the bed and breakfast and the magic waterfall and all this kind of background stuff that she already knows because she's read it over and over again, but that we need to be told because obviously we haven't read this fictional book. We have also learned a little bit of her backstory. It's kind of done as like reminiscing. She'll think about her past and will get told the story of her past through her reminiscing to herself about it. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it. The fictional characters come across as kind of a little bit flat, in my opinion. They're all welcoming and nice and friendly and chatty and have a good time talking to her, but there isn't much in terms of like depth to them. And that might just be because we're meeting so many characters so quickly. I mean, she's only been there for like 1 full day, so there hasn't been much time spent in the world with the characters. We've just been meeting them, and at first glance they are all very nice, very happy, very welcoming, very easy to forgive, like just quite simple characters, I would say, apart from Anders, the bookshop guy, who is mildly grumpy, a bit cutting with his words. He did say some stuff that, you know, is harsh and kind of rude. There hasn't been a whole lot of him either. It's mainly been her exploring the town and getting to know these people. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know, how do I put this? She obviously loves the characters. She obviously has a deep affection for them. But I don't. I haven't read their books. I haven't experienced their love stories. And being told it kind of secondhand doesn't feel enough to love them. Could this all change and this ends up being amazing? Absolutely. This feels like I'm still in the introduction of the story. The plot hasn't really started. There isn't really anything going on. It still feels like the introduction at the moment. Ugh. They just don't feel like real people. I just don't feel the reality of them. I'm complaining. I'm this far into the book. I have like 100 pages left, and I like the main two, right? I like the main two. But the rest of the characters just don't feel like real people. Like there was this big kind of change in their relationship, and then Eileen just said like a couple of lines to one of them, and now suddenly everything's solved, and it's like, that doesn't feel real. That doesn't feel like a real sequence of events to go from firmly believing one thing to firmly believing another just because of a couple of sentences. This just goes a little bit beyond the realms of believable for me, I think. The pace isn't rushed, but the relationships feel rushed. And I have a theory. I have a theory about Anders, and it feels... I might eat my words here. But it feels really obvious what his role is. And I'm just waiting for that conversation to happen. So that feels a little bit slow. Oh, like, okay. The Dead Romantics and the 7-Year Slip, it really felt like it was doing something more than romance. There was a lot more to the story than just the romance of it. And this just feels a lot less of that. There isn't necessarily more romance, but there is more just kind of like other stuff. And I'm not loving it. That's okay. I'm not gonna love every book. And I knew I was taking a chance on this one because it got such mixed reviews. I think it just leans too far into the magic. Like, the great thing about the other books is that it's like magical realism mixed with reality, right? Like, they're going through real hard things. Whereas I think because this is set in a magical town with magical people in a magical world, there's just too much. There's too much of that happening. I'm not hating it. God, it sounds like I've just gone on a rant about this book and I'm hating it. I'm not. I'm having a fine time. I am having a fine time. I don't know. The guy makes a choice in this book, and it gives me the ick, I think is the best way to say it. It's not like unforgivable or disgusting or cruel or anything like that, but it's a choice he makes, and then it's kind of not even acknowledged. It's kind of just like, that happened, let's move on. So I don't know. I think I'm giving this like a 3.75. I think that's where I'm landing with this. And I'm okay with that. I wanted more, but 3.75. It's still a pretty good book. It's still pretty good. I wouldn't laud it around as like one of the best romances I've ever read. I do think there were issues with the fact that the town was fictional and there was only so much that we could learn about this big group of characters within the pages. But I did have fun and it was very sweet. And the main guy, other than that one choice, I really liked his character. So I think 3.75 feels appropriate, feels appropriate. But that does mean I think that we have come to the end of the video. These are the 5 books that I read, all my romances with the highest chance of being 5 stars that I own. And we did find a 5 stars, which is hard for me in romance. I don't often find 5 stars in romance. I always really enjoy them. A lot of the time I really enjoy them, but 5 stars just isn't something that happens a lot to me. So I'm glad I found one. I'm glad I found one. And everything else was around a 4 star, which is it's a good week of reading. Lots of 4 star books. That's a good week of reading. I'm happy with how this turned out. I would also recommend all of these if you're a romance reader. I think they were all great. I don't think there's anything that's too scandalous or horrible about any of these books. I think these were all a really great time, and if you enjoy romance, I think you can enjoy any of these. I know that some of them have been out for a while. You've probably already heard great recommendations about all of them, but just if you want my 2 cents, these were all good romance books. They were all good, and I had a good fun week reading them all. But that's it. That's the end of the video. I hope you had a good time with this video. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you could subscribe because it makes me happy. And if you want to stick around for the next video, that would be great. If you do, I'll see you in the next video. And if you don't, thank you for being here.